Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Jake at thatfitfriend.com, and today I want to film a video talking about 4 things I have learned from answering literally thousands of YouTube comments about shoes, and more specifically, comments made on shoe reviews. I have been running this channel now for over 4 years. I answer pretty much every single comment, and I want to talk about some trends that I've seen and some things that I have learned personally from answering all these comments. Let's dive into number 1. So the first thing that I've learned is the sizing aspect of different shoes is the bane of all of our existences, because we now have more companies than ever that aren't carried in stores. So where do you go to try on a Born Primitive Savage 1? A Rad 1 V2. A lot of the barefoot shoes out there aren't carried in stores because a lot of stores just don't carry them yet. And then a lot of weightlifting shoes also aren't carried in stores. So a lot of comments that I get are focused on sizing, and for good reason. And so when getting these comments, I have learned over the last 4 years to typically ask 1 or 2 follow-up questions before giving an answer or a suggestion, because oftentimes people comment and they don't realize that we do need a little bit more depth and context before I can give you better suggestions. So for example, if you're commenting on, let's say, a Reebok Nano X5 video, and you just say, oh, should I buy this true to size? I need to understand, what do you wear currently? What's your foot anatomy like? How do you train, and how do you like your shoes to fit? And those are follow-up questions that I have since learned that I should ask right out of the jump before trying to give suggestions, because oftentimes with sizing, because of the vast differences of how our feet are built and how we train and our preferences, you just need more layers there. So one thing that I am doing personally now moving forward with things that I have learned is, number 1, obviously asking more questions for comments about sizing, but number 2, I am building a shoe store. And with that shoe store, my goal is to have a foot scanner in store that will be able to scan folks' feet and then cross-reference what they buy and in what size. So hopefully down the road, as we get more data points, we can then cross-reference all these points for a lot of these smaller brands that aren't carried in stores, because I plan to carry them. So being able to bring this channel and to you better metrics based off of real-time in-person data and cross-referencing, hey, you have a foot similar to this person, they buy this shoe in this size, I think we could bring down the return rate. And that's kind of something that I have taken from the last 4 years of answering so many sizing questions, and how I plan to attack that with my business, because I don't just want to build reviews and just continue doing the same thing. I want to figure out, how do I answer this question that a lot of companies also have, which is, how do I bring down my return rate? How do I make sure that I'm getting this shoe onto the feet that it aligns with and that it makes the most sense for? The second thing that I've learned is I don't always need to offer a solution. And so what I'm talking about here is, when somebody comes to a review and they have had a bad experience with a product and they are just coming in hot, firing on the product itself and the company, whatever it might be, they could even be taking it out on me, which has happened many a times. It is better to just validate and let them be heard than trying to offer a solution there. Most times with comments, I do try to give some suggestion, or at least steer folks into a direction that I think makes the most sense based off of what their comment is asking or what their concerns are. But when somebody is coming in and they're bringing that heat and they've had a bad experience, more often than not, it's just let them be heard and let them kind of feel seen, because I think that's what oftentimes people need when they have that moment of frustration. They need to get it out and then just be validated, and then that cool off comes, and then kind of the next phase of, okay, where do I go from here? I got that off of my chest. I said what I need to be said. Now what do I do? A lot of times in the past, I have tried to offer solutions. I have tried to, de-escalate the situation, because I would take that comment and then relate it back to me, like as if I'm the issue here, but it's not. It's oftentimes the product itself, and somebody just wants to vent and be heard. And so just being able to let them do that and give that forum to them, I have learned that you often actually have better and more positive, or at least neutral, interactions after that. So being able to, hey, I hear your concerns, I understand where you're coming from, I will keep that in mind, or I will look into this, whatever, from other folks' context and reviews, and see if there are commonalities here. Then you get a better response out of them versus, hey, actually you should do this, this, this. People don't want to be told what to do if they're coming in hot. So that has been something I have learned, is that when folks come in hot to a video, oftentimes, and there will be some anomalies there where I will offer suggestions, just let them be heard, give them the forum to speak, let them say their piece, and then oftentimes you'll have a way better and more positive, or at least neutral, interaction. And look, I get the comments that are very angry at a product or a company, because I think we're in a weird time of a very capitalism accelerated culture where we have a lot of shoddy reviews, a lot of shoddy influencers pushing things that they have no business pushing. So then people trust that, they buy it. It turns out terribly, and I will film a video on this too down the road. And then they come to reviews and like crack the whip at other people doing reviews. And so that's where I also think a lot of the negative comments come from as well, is just the culture we're in with buying. I think there are a lot of shoddy reviews out there, and if people trust that and they get burned, it makes sense to kind of clap at other reviews. So I never try to take it personally anymore, which I have before in the past when I was a little bit newer in the game. And I just try to just open up the forum, let them be heard, validate what they've experienced. And then if they want to have a more positive or neutral interaction back off of that, and if they respond and, I can tell that they're kind of cooling off, then from there, I think we can get a little bit more of a fruitful or more positive interaction in the sense of solutions, next steps, or where to go from there. Another thing that I've learned from all the comments I've answered, and this is actually something I had no idea was a thing until, a couple years into the channel, is that a lot of folks come and watch reviews after they have actually purchased the product. And I think the reason being is there is a validation that we all kind of want when we buy something, and we want to make sure we made that right choice. And by having other folks in the community or other opinions of the community kind of validate and align with us, it feels really good. I know for a fact that I've done that with like my snowboard, my mountain bike. Like when I bought those things, because they're pretty big purchases, I'll go watch other reviews afterwards, and I want to see like, okay, do they like it too? Because I actually really like this product, or I have this concern. Do they also see this? And I think having that post-buy validation and the amount of folks who do that was something that just kind of took me by surprise. I did not realize how many folks watch reviews after they've bought a purchase, because I thought for the most part, people just watch reviews to understand what to buy, and then that's pretty much it. But a lot of folks do come to my content to see, hey, what does Jake think about this? Does he align with me? And then I think that also opens up a cool forum for discourse, where if I don't align with somebody who does watch my channel often for my take on products, it's cool to kind of see the contrast there. And I have a lot of commenters who are like me, who are obviously obsessed with shoes, and they buy multiple pairs, and being able to see their names on multiple videos and have discourse, it's really cool, because I also know now, like, I'm like, okay, they're commenting, like I know what type of shoe they like. I'm really curious to see what they say about this. And I already kind of like have this rapport with folks, and it's cool because it builds a lot of relationships, and it's very fun to see other enthusiasts in the community come back to interact with content. It was something that I did not expect to be so commonplace with reviews, and it's been just really fun, I think, building that rapport with folks, building relationships, and seeing how many folks come to reviews post-buy and share their thoughts. And it's really cool too, because that helps, I think, reviews a ton when you have bought something and you go back to review and then you share your take. So I personally love when folks share their impressions or their review of a product that they've bought too under a review, because if you're like me, I go to a review and I watch the content, sure, but I also read comments. I want to see what other people who have bought this thing are saying about it. So it helps a ton. And I do appreciate everybody who is the enthusiast who comes back post-buy and shares thoughts, because you're not only helping out, sure, the channel with interaction and reach, but you're also helping out other buyers. And that is, I think, the beauty of it all, because I'm only one person. I only have so many hours in a day. And so being able to aggregate a bunch of opinions, especially consistent opinions, is really, really cool. The fourth thing that I've learned is that commenters from different parts of the world are typically at different parts of their footwear journey. And now what I mean by this is that in different parts of the world, obviously different shoes are available to different folks. And being able to understand that, hey, not everybody has access to this brand, what's comparable to it, or, what would actually answer their question on a video is super important. And that has been something that I've learned over the last 4 years, and seeing consistent comments from different parts of the world, it's helped me, I think, better align my answers to meet people where they're at regarding their resources and what's feasible for them. And that can mean not only the companies available, but also typically, like what's expensive for different parts of the world, what's budget and whatnot, because what's budget in the US is not budget everywhere else in the world. And that is something that I'm often reminded of on my budget videos, where I'm like, $100 or less. And then it's like, well, $100 is really expensive where I'm at, and things cost this. And it's really helped me, I think, gain a better depth for appreciating different types of comments from different commenters. And whenever they add a country and stuff, I'm like, okay, cool. I can then kind of file this comment under this country so I have a better idea as to where they at with their footwear progression, footwear journey in that country, but then also what companies do they have available. And what I mean by that is I think different parts of the world are at different points in the types of shoes they like to wear, the types of footwear they like to rotate. So for example, we can talk about weightlifting shoes, cross-training shoes, barefoot shoes, and running shoes, and how in the US, I think it's a little bit more commonplace to rotate with all of those shoes. And once you start getting into different parts like the Middle East and Asia and stuff, you start to see like this different trend of maybe they don't rotate footwear as much. Why is that? Maybe they don't have as many options for this type of shoe. And being able to see comments and aggregate that data has been really cool. And it's helped me, I think, approach my reviews with just more depth and a better lens for recognizing, hey, I'm getting a comment from somebody in this part of the world. Here is how I could best answer that to meet them where they're at. And I think a lot of this has to do with marketing, obviously, and just where cultures are with different types of footwear and what's cool and what's trendy and what's being adapted. Because right now in the US too, and I think a lot of Europe, and actually all over the world, and if anything, I think the US is actually kind of lagging here, is like the conceptualization of barefoot shoes and being barefoot more often. I think the rest of the world has probably been there actually longer, or at least a bit more keen to that than the US, which is now having barefoot shoes kind of skyrocket and boom. But in Europe, it's like I always have people be like, yeah, I've been wearing barefoot shoes for literally decades, or like I've been wearing them for a long time. Or in other parts of the world, it's like, yeah, it's very commonplace to be barefoot or barefoot shoes or minimalist shoes. So it's been really cool to see the different parts of the world and the different training journeys and footwear journeys that a lot of folks are on, depending on the companies available, the cultures, the trends, and everything else. Boy, hopefully this video was kind of fun for you. I thought it was really cool, kind of thinking back on the last 4 years and the comments I've received and all the comments I've answered and trying to draw some lessons that I have learned personally from them. If you've ever commented on my channel, I appreciate you. It really does help the channel grow, but it's also just cool being able to connect with other folks who are interested in the content I am producing. I answer virtually every comment. I will never be the YouTuber that doesn't answer a comment if there is not a reply warranted, or the type of YouTuber who will just click the AI response, because that's just, I don't agree with that. If you're spending your time watching my video, taking time out of your day to also then comment, the least I can do is interact and answer any questions you have, or at least interact back and, you know, at least let you know like, hey, I see your comment. I appreciate your time that you took to write this and whatnot. But if you have any questions on this video, drop a comment down below. We'll keep it on trend. But as always, y'all, drop a like on the video, drop subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next one.